May I now invite Exim Bank Managing Director David Raskina to speak about India's development in Africa. Mr. Raskina, are you there?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Okay. So you have 5 to 7 minutes, and please focus. My two questions to you is that obviously because of the lockdown and complete devastation of sorts that have been unleashed by the pandemic, how do we implement these lines of projects? And we have the whole lot. Africa is the second largest recipient of Indian lines of credit. How do you see this going forward? Do we have a roadmap of the sort? So essentially, how do we carry in these very difficult and trying times? And going ahead, the agenda. I mean, we are talking about pandemic as though it only erupted 3 months ago, but it almost looks like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, as in before pandemic, like before Christ or something. We have forgotten what the world was like. So moving beyond the pandemic, how do you see our development partnership going forward? Thank you. Over to you now.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chand. I put off my video because of connection issues. That's why you couldn't see me. Let me address the two questions you mentioned. One is, how is the lockdown affecting the implementation of the lines of credit, and where do we go from here? Now, of course, in a lockdown, just about every project is going to come to a halt. Any project, by definition, relies on long supply chains. It relies on logistics, inflow of materials, outflow, the supply of human labor, and workers who will have to necessarily be concentrated. The moment you have a lockdown or even the semblance of a lockdown, a project by definition cannot function. And it would be positively dangerous for it to function because you're going to have a lot of people working in close concert. So for the moment, definitely in many parts of the projects where the lines of credit are concerned, there is a temporary halt. Now, work which has already been done, has been billed, has been paid. We are still making disbursements. Even today, funds are being released. But this is all reflecting work which has already been done earlier and has been built along. As the time moves forward, that is definitely going to slow down. In the short run, it's not going to have a big impact. It depends how long the lockdown lasts, how serious the lockdown is. Can we get back on course in a couple of months? Then we should not have a major problem. However, if the lockdown lasts longer than that, then yes, economics of a project are going to be impacted, and that is something which we will have to look at going forward. More than the economics of an individual project, and I think the point came up both with Mr. Chabra was speaking and Her Excellency Madam Grace was speaking also, this is going to have an impact on the fiscal situation in Africa. Most of the African economies are dependent on two major sources of revenue. One is commodities and the second is tourism. Both, unfortunately, are going to be hit. Commodity prices have taken a blow, not just oil or coal, but metals, ores. In parallel with the decline in economic activity across the world, all commodity prices have taken a blow. This is very good news for commodity importing countries. It's not at all good news for commodity exporting companies. More to the point, tourism is a huge revenue earner in many African countries, and naturally, with the COVID, tourism is simply not going to happen. So you're going to face a crunch on fiscal revenues exactly at a time when expenditure, especially on the health sector, is going to go up. So this means there is going to be a significant fiscal crunch both from the inflow side as well as the outflow side. And this brings me to the second part of your question, which you wanted me to speak on, the role of financial institutions. Where do FIs come into the picture on this? Now, here is where I would separate the role of financial institutions into what I would call the commercial financial institutions and the development financial institutions. The development financial institutions, of course, you have the multilaterals like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and I would include within that the Exim banks like the Exim Bank of India, which has the privilege of implementing the Government of India's lines of credit program. We have the honor of being the operating agency and have been doing so since 2003. Using our financing network and our ability to raise funds and manage projects. Such funding tends to be very long duration. For example, the Indian lines of credit range from anything from 15 to 25 years, including a moratorium period. So here the burden on a government tends to be much smaller. as compared to what I would call the commercial financiers, which are predominantly the bond markets or the syndicated loan markets. Now, the bond markets or syndicated loan markets have a link to the tenor of the loan. So as a result, in order to keep pricing under control, countries tend to go in for relatively shorter term financing, 3 years, 5 years, etc. And this has a huge impact on debt servicing. Now, if we are going to address this issue, and definitely it's a very valid point, then all of us have to work together. You cannot have a situation where one set of financiers is moving in one direction and another set of financiers is moving in another direction. And the elephant in the room here, of course, is the particularly large lenders. The large lenders to individual African countries are in a position where the debt burden is extremely compelling and needs to be addressed on priority basis. So the need of the hour here is for all the G20 nations perhaps to sit together so that we do not have the classic economics problem of the freeloader. The freeloader problem in economics is well known. You cannot have one country or a set of countries benefiting from the views of the other parties, and that is something which we need to look at going forward. Nor is this the time, of course, to change the system. Assistance to African countries is ongoing. Even today, I am getting proposals which have been cleared by the Honorable External Affairs Minister and the Honorable Finance Minister for lines of credit. Exim Bank is even today clearing new lines of credit proposals, new projects. So there's been no change. Because of the lockdown, we probably are working from home, as you can see from the rather interesting background behind me. But other than that, our functioning has not been impaired at all. Going forward, however, there are some areas definitely that we can look at. Certainly, health is an area which all of us, perhaps all around the world, need to look at in greater detail. We have spent our time on building physical infrastructure, on building manufacturing capability, and absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we do need to look at education and health, the soft infrastructure, which perhaps gets less of the glamour, but in the long run is much more useful for a country. And the COVID pandemic has definitely brought out to all of us, and I'm not talking only of Africa, I'm talking of the entire world, the lacunae in our expenditure on health. Perhaps we can make a start with that in Africa. There are several of the lines of credit which are addressing the health sector in countries like Zambia, in countries like Cote d'Ivoire, and I'm sure we would like to look broadly across it. And Mr. Chabra has already made the very valid point that the Indian lines of credit are at the volition of the countries, that there's a choice of project, the choice of utilization of the lines is from that of the user government, and we do not try to impose our views on that. Was that well for me, Mr. Chand?
Yeah, I mean, you could take maybe another minute to round up.
Okay, sure. And sure, the final point I would like to make is we need to encourage investment more. The projects under the lines of credit are certainly excellent, but Mr. Chabra already made the point of Rivatex. Rivatex was the rehabilitation of a textile plant by Indian machinery, by Indian technology. But that plant today is manufacturing an item, as he rightly pointed out, of masks, which it was never intended to make in the first place. But that shows how versatile a manufacturing unit can be and how investment into productive capacity in Africa will be a win-win situation both for the country in Africa as well as for India as well. Let me stop at this point. I have a lot more to say, but I do understand your time constraint. So let me hand it back to you and take questions later.